My name is Carrie, and this is Spines and Spoilers. Today we are going to talk about all of the books that I read in November. So, you know how I said in my TBR that I wasn't going to try to read all that much this month because I just wanted to take it easy and I didn't want to be stressed? Well, I wasn't stressed, but I read 33 books. It wasn't intentional at all, but between the 15 books that I drew for my pumpkin vlog, whatever you want to call it, my November reading vlog, and arcs and just books that I had checked out from the library that I really needed to finish, it just ended up at 33 somehow. So we are not going in depth about any of these books. The plan is just, name, author, rating, maybe like a brief description or how I felt about the book. In, out, done. Because otherwise, we will be here until it's actually Christmas. There are 25 days. It is the 1st of December when I am filming this. Usually, I would discuss what I'm drinking and what I am reading, but today I'm literally just drinking ice water, a big bottle of ice water, and I'm not reading anything yet because I'm going to be deciding that when I film my December TBR. Time to stop stalling though. Without further ado, this is my November reading wrap-up. I do want to say right quick that these are in no particular order, it's just the order that I wrote them down in, basically. It's not by ranking or when I read them or anything like that. The first book, though, is Making Love with the Land by Joshua Whitehead. This was originally an arc. It is a series of essays by a First Nations individual from Canada, of course. Joshua Whitehead is also two-spirited, and all of their essays were extremely poignant and visceral, and I absolutely recommend that you read this as soon as you can, whenever it is actually available to the public. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Number 2 is another arc. It is Mariah Khan and the Fabulous Jasmine Garden by Sadiya Faruqi. And it was a very sweet book. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy how one of the characters was treated in it, but for the most part I really enjoyed it. And I ended up giving it a 4 star. In hindsight, it might be more of a 3.5. I might have to reread this one. Number 3 is absolutely infamous. It is It by Stephen King. This book got 2 stars, and I feel like maybe that was even generous. It only got 2 stars because of the turtle at the end. If you know, you know. And because of the influence it has had on media. I did not like this book though, and I would recommend that you watch the movies instead of putting yourself through the whole ordeal that reading this book is. Moving on. Number 4 is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is the sequel to the Atlas 6. I stumbled across this in Libby. This app has done so much for me this month. This is not sponsored or anything like that. Libby has just really been coming through for me lately. The Atlas Paradox, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit more than the Atlas 6, and it made me enjoy the Atlas 6 more in retrospect. I gave it 4 stars. Number 5 is Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. I sadly gave this one a 2.5. I didn't want to, but it needed more meat on those bones. It has a really cool premise and some really unique ideas, but it needs some padding, and I need more details. I need more from these characters and these ideas. You've got a really cool concept, Cassandra Khaw. This is just like the pilot episode. I need more. Number 6 is an adorable graphic novel called Unfamiliar by Haley Newsome. It's quite witchy and cute, and it kind of hit me right in that spot, right when I was really wanting to read super witchy, kind of spooky but adorable things, so nice timing. I gave it a 4.5. Number 7 was one of my favorites for the year, and that's saying something because I've read a lot of really good books this year. It was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I initially gave it a 4.5, but the more I look back on it, the more I'm leaning towards like a 5, maybe a 4.75. T. Kingfisher, she keeps on one-upping herself, so I kind of want to leave the teeny tiniest room for improvement, but I absolutely love this, everything about it. I'm extremely picky about my fantasy these days, so the fact that I enjoyed this so much I feel like really says something. Number 8 is another arc. It is Ghost Book by Remy Lai. This was just another cute little graphic novel. This one was also kind of informative. I learned a lot about ghosts that I did not know before, so yes, I believe I gave it 4 stars. Number 9 is also an arc, and it is also a Christmas book. I honestly never would have read it, unless I was forced to. No offense to people who like Christmas books, they're just not generally my thing, unless one, it's like assigned to me by someone, which it kind of was in this case, or I just really need something, I don't know, if I need something that's just like, no thoughts, just vibes. That being said, the book is The Naughty and Nice Claws by Kat Callahan. It had a little bit more meat on its bones than usual Christmas books, actually. I ended up giving it a 3. Don't know what else to say about it, because while it does have more meat on its bone and I did enjoy it, it was still very much a Hallmark Christmas book, you know? Number 10 is another book from my November reading vlog, that is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I quite enjoyed this more than I was expecting to. For some reason, I really wasn't expecting to enjoy this book. I've kind of been hearing a lot of negative things about it. But yes, I quite enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, so. Number 11 is another arc. It's The Illuminaries by Susan Dennard. This book was so good. I gave this one 4 stars as well. I don't think that this book is out quite yet, but I would recommend reading it when it comes out. Number 12 is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I loved this book. It was extremely strange and eerie. I never would have expected to enjoy it as much as I did with the description of the book. Basically, a group of friends accidentally kills a pregnant elk and her baby. Years later, the members of this group start dying one by one, being viciously murdered. It's so good. It can be a little slow in a couple of places, I'm not gonna lie, but it only works to build up the atmosphere, which is wonderful. I ended up giving it a 4-star review, but maybe I should switch it to a 4.5. I don't know. We'll keep it at 4 for now and see how we feel. Number 13 is another arc. It is Sister Maiden Monster by Lucy A. Snyder. I had high hopes for this book because it sounded extremely interesting, but I ended up giving it around 3 stars, maybe? No, 3 stars sounds reasonable. It didn't pull me in as much as I hoped it would. It was a little all over the place. Check it out for yourself when it comes out, though. Number 14 is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I enjoyed this way more than I expected to, and kind of way more than I wanted to. The thing is, it talks a lot about, like, forensic science and autopsies and, you know, Jack the Ripper, and I am such a sucker for this stuff. I studied to be a funeral director and embalmer for 2 years, so this is just entirely in my wheelhouse, and I thought it was really interesting. There were a couple of, not like Other Girls moments, but I enjoyed it so much that I'm giving it a 4-star review, actually. I don't feel great about the fact that I'm giving it a 4-star review, but I enjoyed it too much not to. Number 15 was The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This was from my November reading vlog, and I was sadly disappointed about this one. There was a little bit too much copy and pasting from Stephen King's Carrie. It had enough unique ideas, though, to kind of carry it, which is why it gets a 3.5 rather than a 3 or a 2.5. Number 16 was another one that disappointed me, sadly. It's Valley of Shadows by Rudy Ruiz. I never should have read this book, honestly, not because it's bad or anything. The writing is good. I don't like Westerns, though. I really don't like Westerns. My mind rejects them. Like, I think Westworld is such an interesting concept, and I haven't watched that because it is a Western, and my brain will not let me watch it. So if you are okay with Westerns and you like horror, definitely give this one a shot. My brain just could not get into it, and it was a whole slog getting through it for me. Again, nothing against the author, nothing against their writing type. I just can't do Westerns even when they're mixed with horror, apparently. I'm so sorry. Number 17 is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I gave it 4 stars because it's by Neil Gaiman, of course. I have a very real bias towards his work, I'm not gonna lie. So please call me out if you're like, no, actually, that book was total shit, and let me tell you why. Let me know how you feel about his work in the description. I can totally see why people would say that about a couple of his books, but this one I really enjoyed. Number 18 made me so excited. It's another arc, and whenever I found out that I got this arc, I literally included it in my last reading vlog, I think it was the last one. But yes, I was just so excited that I literally started reading it on camera even though it wasn't part of the vlog. It's A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. As you can tell, once I find an author that I like, I kind of just like latch on to them like a parasite. I'm kind of bad about doing that. I need to stop. This book was very Southern Gothic and weird and creepy and cool, and it's set in North Carolina, and I loved it so much, okay? It's another 4.75. Unless T. Kingfisher never writes anything better, in which case it might just be a 5. I don't know. Moving on, because I could talk about that book for ages, this next book is another arc. It is the sequel to the Music Box, just called The Music Box 2 by Carbone. This is another graphic novel for children. It's set in this fantastical world. It kind of gives me Owl House vibes, but for the slightly younger audience. It's always a delight to read these books, honestly. Number 20 is another graphic novel and another arc called Pardalita by Joanna Estrella. This one had some LGBTQIA+ representation. I quite enjoyed it. It was a 4-star read. I wouldn't necessarily say it was cute, but it was atmospheric, it was sweet, and I absolutely loved the illustrations. Number 21 is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I don't know why, but I didn't expect to like this book. And I did. I don't really have a lot to say about it other than that, though. I enjoyed reading it. It was a good book. Unlike 22, which is The Hole by Ha Young Pyun. So this book got a 2.5, and the only reason that it got that high of a score was because it had some unique ideas and some interesting concepts. It also was a little bit ableist though, and I didn't like the way that it referred to the main character a lot of the time. It was also simultaneously quick and slow, and I don't know how they did that. Number 23 was my first Riley Sager book. I know, where have I been, under a rock? I wish that I could give this book a better score. It is Home Before Dark, and I was really loving this book. It was gonna have like a 4-star at least, and then the ending hit me. I'm not gonna give it away, but it's like a 2-hit. And it's like, oh, here's a twist, and here's another twist. And I was in it for the first twist, and then the second one came, and I was like, no. I don't know, if he had chosen one or the other, I probably would have been here for it, but I don't know. At any rate, it was still a good book. I gave it a 3.5. This next book is one that I had been trying to read for forever. I literally picked it up in January of this year. It was on my 22 books that I want to read 2022 book list, if that tells you anything. It is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I started reading it before, and I got another book that was new and shiny, so I dropped this one and just like didn't pick it up again for a while. I ended up enjoying it, though not as much as I thought I would. This is another one of those situations where I wish that it had been a little longer and we'd gotten a little bit more time with the characters, a little bit more development of the characters and the storyline. That being said, it's not a bad book by any means, and I did enjoy it, so it got a 3.5. Number 25 is another one that I was really excited about, and it's another one that Libby hooked me up with. Just good looking out, Libby. Libby? Who's Libby? It's The Sunbearer Trials by Aiden Thomas. I adore Aiden Thomas. The Cemetery Boys is literally one of my favorite books of all times, and now so is The Sunbearer Trials. It's a little bit of Monica in my life. No, it's a little bit of Hunger Games and Percy Jackson and Cemetery Boys all wrapped up in a neat little package. I would have liked it if it could have been a little longer. Number 26 was my first Rachel Hawkins book. It is The Wife Upstairs. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would, though I kind of have a theory that maybe Rachel Hawkins is secretly Colleen Hoover. Thinking back on it though, her writing is much better than Colleen Hoover's, honestly. I wanted to be happy for the character in certain parts, but she's also just kind of not a great person. And sometimes that can make for really interesting writing. And this is one of those cases. It's not a bad book by any means, which kind of surprised me, honestly. It was hard for me to root for any of the characters in this book at all. That being said, I gave it a 3.5. Number 4 was The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I really loved this book. Goodreads described it as Rebecca meets Mexican Gothic, and I completely agree with that, actually. I can totally see that. I loved both of those books, so this was right there. It was right in my wheelhouse. Number 28, however, was not that at all. This was not it. It's Jawbone by Monica Ueda. This book got 1 star. This is the only book that I have given a solid 1 star, not a 1.5 or a 1.75 or a 1.25, a 1 star, because I just fucking could not with this book. If you decide to read this for some reason, please look up the content warnings first. Thankfully, number 29 was a much better book. That is White Horse by Erica T. Worth. This was another Libby find, I believe, if I remember correctly. It was such a unique story though, it's so creative. I absolutely loved it, definitely recommend it. The only thing that I can say is it does get a little bit slow towards the middle, but if you can push through that, it's totally worth it. Number 30 was The Butchering Art by Lindsay Fitzharris. And I have been meaning to read this book in its entirety for ages. I have read like halfway through it a couple of times before now, and something always happened where I ended up putting it down and just not finishing it. But yes, it was extremely interesting. If you are interested in Victorian medicine or surgery in general, definitely check this one out. Number 31 is another ARC. It is Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. It was another extremely interesting, unique concept, and with this one, it kind of just grabs you from the first sentence because she wakes up with a crow's head in her hand, or she thinks she does, but then when she's fully awake, she doesn't see it anymore. And if that doesn't get you to keep reading, I don't know what will. Number 32 is Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. I loved this book. It had so many sweet, cute moments while also, you know, hurting me on kind of a personal level. I don't talk about this a lot, but I am a non-binary individual. It doesn't come up a lot in conversation when I'm making these videos, exactly, but yes. And, I have feelings about this book. It gave me questions to ask myself. It was pretty influential, more than I would have expected a YA book to be. But yes, I did. I loved this book. I gave it a 4.5. Number 33 snuck in right under the wire because I got approved for it on the last day of November. It's another ARC, and it's also another Rachel Hawkins book. So this is the second one of hers that I've read, and I got an audiobook for it, the ARC for the audiobook, which never happens. I don't know why. And I listened to it entirely in one sitting. I was able to follow along because I got approved for the ebook as well, so I was able to listen to it and follow along as well. And I liked this one better than the other one. It still kind of falls in like the 3.5 range, but maybe more like 3.75, getting closer to a 4. The first one that I read kind of touched on good for her vibes, but this one really was closer to that. I was able to root for the main character a lot more in the villas than I was for the wife upstairs. And honestly, she could have messed this up so easily. There are multiple storylines and she tells it in multiple forms. And that can get really messy really fast. I'm not gonna lie, I've read books that do that and that just turned out extremely messy. I couldn't follow along with it, at least not very well, and it interfered with the integrity of the story. I didn't feel like that was the case in this one though. At any rate, that's it. That is all 33 books that I read in November. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that you're all staying safe out there and that you are enjoying the holiday season, especially since now it is December and, you know, the festivities can really begin. I'm looking forward to watching all of the Vlogmas content that is coming out. I never participate in Vlogmas really, and I feel like maybe next year I should. If you want to like and share and subscribe and all that jazz, then I would appreciate it. It would probably help me on some level. However, what's most important to me, are you listening? You have to listen to me. Okay, what's most important to me is that you love yourself. Okay?